So you think your house is your biggest asset, right? 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 Wrong. Actually, your house might be your biggest liability. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about why that is and how to actually turn around that into your biggest asset. So for some of you who know what I'm talking about because you own a house, we're going to learn about how to turn that into an asset. And so for some of you who are thinking about buying a house or not, I think you should watch this video so you can make an informed decision before maybe it's too late. So I was so excited when I first bought my house because after many researches, I figured, hey, my mortgage is only a couple $100 more than my rents. So this couldn't be wrong because it's always better to own your house than to rent it, right? And what I did notice after I bought my house was that there's so many expenses that nobody ever told you about that's come with the house. So my apartment actually included utility at the time. So when I moved into my house, I was shocked at how expensive my utility is, a couple $100 a month. And then in addition to that, I also found that there's more repairs and etc. So instead of calling my landlord up and said, hey, my heater has issues, come and fix it, I actually have to figure out how to fix the heater, actually hire people to fix the heater. One winter it went out and I have to spend $15,000 right there, or I have to suffer the extreme cold. So guess what? That $15,000 went into the drain. And so all these expenses just keeps on accumulating up, but there's never an end to it. And every month I also have to still pay the mortgage. So that's a big chunk of my paycheck as well. Also, not to mention the taxes going up more than 10% every single year. And every single levy that gets passed in the local laws, guess who's paying them? Property owners, right? So isn't the house supposed to be your asset? It's supposed to be putting money back into your pocket, right? But all it's doing is just I'm pouring and pouring more money onto the house. Sure, the mortgage may be only a couple $100 more than my rent, but all these expenses, unexpected expenses, are just eating into me. So I've been thinking, is it really an asset? Do you really think that's an asset after you're pouring all these money down the drain? Let's think about this again. You know how these are urban legends, right? Your mom always drive by some really, really old house near San Francisco and says, hey, look at that super old, halfway down houses that worth $2 million. So that person's rich. But is that person really rich? Like, it's really sad story because oftentimes you see these old people who lived in these houses for a very, very long time, 30, 40, 50 years, all their entire life, thinking they're sitting on their asset. But at the end of the day, they go collect the garbages or they live so poorly just to maintain the house. Do you still think that is an asset? Or is it become your biggest liability? Don't be that guy. So the definition of liability is things that take money out of your pocket. What do you think your house is? So far, it has not put a dime into my pocket. The asset is supposed to put money into your pocket. So as long as you still own the house, you still live in there, it is not putting any money into your pocket. That's why a house is your biggest liability, not your asset. What about if you lose your job? And nobody wants to lose their job. And the mortgage company doesn't care that you lose your job. So imagine you paid your mortgage for 10 years, accumulated all these assets, and all of a sudden one day, 1 month, you can't pay your mortgage. Guess who owned the house? The mortgage company, not you anymore. So do you still think it is an asset? Let's not be so depressing. Let's talk about a little bit of different ways to turn your biggest liability, your house, into asset actually for you, which by definition is something that should be putting money into your pocket. So we have a couple ways that you can do that with. You can sell it. The simplest way is you can sell it and turn it into a profit. Actually enjoy the equity in your house, right? I'm not talking about go buy a car, go Gucci bags, or go on extravagant trips and etc. Maybe you can do a little bit of that, but put majority of that investing in something that is going to earn you a better return, a better cash flow, such as rentals or dividend stocks or any of that stuff. And second part is you can cash out refinance. Cash out refinance is basically you're getting a new mortgage on it and then capitalize it on the equity that you have accumulated. So for you folks who is out there who bought your house in 2008 during the crash, and now you should be sitting on a lot of equity in there. So you can free up some of that equity and actually reinvest it into things that is generating cash flow or generating return, like investments, such as rentals, passive investment into syndications and stocks or any other type of investment other than just letting it sit in your house. And third, it's kind of like the cash out refi. There's also this other vehicle called HELOC, which is a line of credit that is placed onto your house. Because a lot of people will say, well, I cash out refi to pay an interest rate and just making sure the interest rate you're paying is really low. But even then, I'm still paying a bigger mortgage. So that line of credit, you don't really need to pay interest on it unless if you drew on it. Now, the downside for it, it may be a floating rate interest rate. So you're not having the benefit of locked in a fixed low rate. But in general, it's still much lower than inflation right now, which is at 8.5%. The HELOC rates is about anywhere between 4 to 6%. So you are already winning by taking the money out of there against your inflation rate. So better yet, you use that money to reinvest in something that's going to be generating you return more than what you pay in the interest, such as investment that can generate you 10 to 12% returns, such as multifamily syndication or other rental properties. You can even buy a second rental properties for cash flow purposes using these money. And fourth, you can house hack. So another way to generate a lot of money, and we have videos like this in our YouTube channel that talks about how using house hack can actually make you triple returns in a year possibly. So to house hack, it means that you're using your house and then renting out a partial of your house. So oftentimes you can even live for free, having your renters pay down your mortgages. Now we're talking about assets, right? And if you live in a busy area, in the metropolitan area, it comes with ample parking, and you may even want to rent out one of your parking spots. That can generate some cash flow as well. Lastly, Airbnb has been very popular in the past couple of years. So I've seen some extreme Airbnb and plus house hacking. So folks has bought their house and then Airbnb the parts of their house out. And this including parking an Airstream on their parking lot and also dividing mother-in-law units rent by room. So the more kind of you divide it up, there's more management, but there's also more cash flow potentially. So our takeaway in this video is that if you're thinking about buying a house right now, think again and really do some math and make sure that you're calculating in 10% repairs and 10% in capital expenditure and have ample of cash reserve so that when the rainy day comes, you can pay for that heater that goes out. If you own a house today, you should explore different ways to turn that into an asset for you, something that generates a cash flow as well. For more information, we actually did a case study with one of our students. So she sold her house and she reinvested into multifamily syndication, generated passive income for her. Now she lives all around the world freely, traveling and living the life of her dream. To check that out, we're going to be putting the link down in the blog below. Also, we have tons of articles that helps you turning your other liabilities into asset as well on our website. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and like us over here. And if you have any comments or questions and specific scenarios you want to talk to us about, please leave a comments below.